Hi YouTube, this is Rose. What's pertaining to Rose? How are you today? Sorry about the mess. What do you think of my cute little doggy shirt? It was one of my Christmas presents. My kids love me, spoil me to death. I got a great topic for you today, and I want you to start thinking in 8 years worth of savings. You're like, what? So, let's say you live below poverty limit and you make $2,000 a month. 8 years worth of savings, that's $192,000. You're like, why would I need to save 8 years worth of savings? Well, let me tell you, when the end of the world comes, it's going to be about 7.5 years of extreme hardship. You won't be able to buy or sell unless you take the mark of the beast. Nobody wants to take the mark of the beast. Let me tell you, you know, there's going to be times where it's going to get tough. And there's going to be times where, pandemics, where people buy out the stores and there's no toilet paper left. And guess what you're using? Wet washcloths. You ever watch that movie, Cinderella Man? They went through extreme hardships. And you see them living in the little tiny one-bedroom apartment, kind of like below. They have to go down into their little apartment. It's kind of like a cellar living. They couldn't pay their bills. They were eating one meal a day, which might have consisted of some fried bologna or something. You see the wife out breaking up somebody's wooden fence. She's out there kicking the boards off of a wooden fence so she has something to burn. That's what it's going to be like. People aren't going to have medical insurance. They're not going to be able to get their dental work done. They're not going to be able to buy their prescriptions. They're not going to be able to afford to go to the grocery store. So 8 years worth of savings would really come in handy. Might be able to keep the electric on so your kids have heat. You might be able to buy a little bit of food, or if you can't buy and sell, you're gonna want to be able to barter. So you want to prep now for those 8 years. Now, I'm not saying it's around the corner. We don't know when it's coming. Only the good Lord does. Only the Father does. He's the only one that knows when it's gonna happen. He knows. We don't. We have no clue. It could start tomorrow. And what do you have? That cute little sweater you just bought at Macy's? Or whatever store, Kohl's, whatever store you... Sure, it's a cute little sweater you have. But all of a sudden, you can't get your money. You can't go to the store and buy anything all of a sudden. It's going to happen. And when it happens, we're all going to be thrown off course. We're all going to be like scraping together. Okay, what do we have? Okay, we saved some batteries. Let me tell you, you're going to need more than batteries and some canned goods. You're going to need some vitamins and whatever, and shampoos and soaps, and there's so many different ways of savings. But you're still going to need 8 years worth of savings to make it through. So if you have $2,000 a month, which is below poverty level, excuse me, that's $192,000. If you have an account where it's gaining a 30-day annual interest, oh my goodness, it's going to be a lot more than $192,000 in 8 years. But you got to start somewhere. Instead of going out and getting that fast food or that convenience store soda, you got to have your Slurpee for the day or your fancy coffee. Take that extra money and pay off some of your debt. That $5 you were going to spend today is $5 you could pay off some of that debt. You want to put some money in savings, and you want to put some money towards that debt. When you put money in savings, you want to put it, and you don't want to touch it. You don't want to tell people you have it, because when they have extreme hard times, guess who they're going to come borrow money from? Because they know you have it. You're done already told them you saved this amount of money. They're going to come borrow money from you. And they're going to beg. And you're going to feel heartbroken. Now, I truly believe in giving. I absolutely do. I truly believe in helping out my fellow man. But I'm not going to have my children and my grandchildren starve so they can have new tires on their car. Do you understand? Don't put yourself out to the point where your children's not going to get fed in the future because they needed new tires. There's ways that they can go get tires from the junkyard, and they can, you can find people that can maybe help them. You don't have to be the savior. You really have to think in terms of your financial future. Let me see. There's a lot of ways that you can save. So I have a ton of stuff, I reuse my plastics as often as I can. So I start by using a lot of my plastic bottles. I will use to put my pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters in, whatever. Then I put them back. I hide them from myself. That way in the future when I really do need them, I have them. Now, I am debt free. It took a lot of years to get that way. I started by paying off my smallest bill, and then taking that money that I used every month for that and started paying off the next smallest bill. And I kept going until all those little bills were wiped out, and I only had the big bills. Then I took that extra money to make extra payments on my check loan and my house loan and whatever, and I paid them off as fast as possible. That was how I got out of debt. I really, really reused everything. I ate the same meals day in and day out to get myself through. It was horrible. I'm not one of those people that... I don't like to eat leftovers for 4 days in a row. So now when I have leftovers, I freeze them and then I use them for a future meal down the road. But I did what I had to do at that time to get out of debt. Now, when you put money in your savings, you got to think in the terms that down the road, you might not be able to get that money out of the bank if something did happen all of a sudden. So you got to also make sure you're well stocked. And every good prepper tells you this. Now you got your regular canned goods you can buy from the store. You buy an extra can of tuna here this month and an extra can of tuna next month. 4 or 5 cans of tuna is not going to last you through 8 years. And usually canned tuna and canned hams and stuff last 3 to 5 years before they really start tasting like metal tin. You want actual canned goods in mason jars. And I mean actual canned goods. If you don't do your own canning, start buying canned goods that are in mason jars now. You can buy them. Those old country stores that you can find some canned goods in. They got the canned pickled eggs and whatever, canned meats. Start buying them up now, and you're thinking, but they're so expensive. Yeah, somebody spent a lot of time to can all that stuff. It is a little expensive, but they last 30 years. Now, my mother lived during the Depression. So my mother was born around 1938. My father was born in 1937. And my mother used to say things like, oh, well, we ate coffee soup, We had a bunch of kids in the household. Her father died when she was real young, so her grandmother had to work, and they didn't have no money. They, grew onions and potatoes and whatever else in her little tiny backyard uh, garden they had. The kids ate jelly and onion sandwiches. They'd fight over the heels of the bread because the heels was the thickest slice. You know, they put crushed up pretzels and watered down coffee that they would all split. That these are the kind of things, this is how they lived. And that was just during the recession. That was when things were hard to come by. People didn't have money for electric. So when it got dark out, everybody went to bed. They didn't stay up till 11, 12 o'clock at midnight. They were in bed by 6, 7 o'clock. They got up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. That's 12 hours of being in bed. But that's what they did. They didn't have money for the electric. You have to keep these things in mind. You're saving for 8 years. You want that financial savings. You might not have health insurance in the future. You have to keep that in mind. A lot of people don't have it now. So people won't be able to go to the doctors and the dentist. So if you're on a high-end medication, you may think, okay, I'm going to have to start thinking in terms of medicines, because my medicine is expensive. Now, you got to remember, medication breaks down over time. Vitamins break down over time. So if you got your vitamins, they break down over time. They're not as powerful. They lose a lot of their nutrients. Same way with foods. They lose their nutrients, so you definitely want to keep rotation going. You put the new in the back and the old in the front. Always grab from the old first. You're going to have to start thinking of savings. So you love this body wash. You used it for years. Same body wash. It's easy to use. Squirt a little bit on your washcloth and you're good to go. That body wash is expensive. Start using bars of soap. They last you. They last you so much longer. And it's like 3 cents of use instead of 50 cents of use. Your body washes, you're throwing so much money right down the drain. Start using bars of soap. They last for years. You can stock up on bars of soap. And that's a great bartering tool. Really think how you're going to do this and have 8 years worth of savings. Think about 8 years worth of money, 8 years worth of medication or vitamins, 8 years worth of, medical supplies, 8 years worth of food. You have to think in terms. 8 years worth of soap. There may come a time nobody's going to have toilet paper and everybody's going to be using wet washcloths and then hand washing those washcloths to keep them clean. There's going to come a time where we're all going to be thinking in these terms. We might not have the stuff to barter with. But if you have stuff, and you have it in a dark, cool, dry place that you're not telling people about, it's hidden in that back closet, but it's there for you. You know that you have it. You might want to pay off that house now and make sure you have enough financial money to keep paying the taxes. Once all your debt's paid off, it's so easy to start blowing that money and saying, well, I could buy a newer car. I could buy a newer this. I could now afford those $700 sneakers. Now, I do believe in buying high quality clothes, but I tend to think of stuff like Carhartt. I love Carhartt products. And the reason why I buy them is because their clothes last 20 or 30 years. You can get a pair of bib overalls, and 20 or 30 years from now, you can still be wearing that same pair of bib overalls. They're great in the winter. You're not out there freezing your butt off, you know. It's these kind of things is what I like to think of because I know they're gonna last and they're gonna hold me for. I don't need 10 different coats. I do not need the coolest neck sweater that just came out on the market. You know, start thinking now what 8 years of living, 8 years of savings can do for you, because that shampoo that you're now buying at $4.99, because it's your favorite shampoo, 8 years from now, that same bottle of shampoo could be $24.99. Think about that. So if it's really your favorite shampoo and you have to have that shampoo, you may want to buy 8 years worth of supplies, and make sure you keep it in a cool, dark place where it's not, the plastic's not going to break down as easily. Really think where your future is going to be. Really think about it now, because we're going to need to all start preparing. And you're thinking, well, my grandmother did this. And, you know, when she died, we had all this food we had to throw away and all this, you know. You know what? She was preparing back then. But she had food during those tough times. She had money saved for those tough times. She was prepared. And that's what I'm trying to get you to do. So you might laugh at all those preppers. Let me tell you, they're thinking in the future. They know something's gonna happen. It may not be a pandemic, it might be a war. It may be anything that starts this. We don't know what's gonna start the process. And when it happens, people are gonna be thrown for a loop. All of a sudden, they're not gonna be able to buy their toilet paper. You know, they're not gonna be able to go out and get their medication. They're going to all of a sudden realize, well, we don't have something for dinner tomorrow night. We have some cereal, dry cereal. Who wants to eat dry cereal? You think about 8 years worth, you got to think of at least one meal a day where you got meat, some kind of protein, eggs, peanut butter. You're going to think of some kind of protein you're getting into. Not only do you need protein to keep going, but you need other vitamins and nutrients. You're going to need to figure out your vegetables. You know, so if you have a root cellar, really, really think hard about start storing stuff in that root cellar. Or if you have a basement. Now, some states don't have basements because they're, you know, next to the ocean, and 10 feet under the land is water. They really, you know, they can't build basements. But you might want to think of a pantry. Okay, let's turn this closet into a pantry. Let's get rid of all these extra stuff we don't need and turn it into a pantry. Let's get some containers that we can start keeping stuff in. That's another thing. Your old coffee containers, your old plastic coffee containers, save them. Wash them out. Air dry them really, really good. And then when you make soup, put your leftover soups in there. Take a marker or, you know, some masking tape, put on top and write on the date and what's in it, and stick it in your freezer. No, it's only good 6 months in the freezer, but that's okay. 5 weeks from now, when you're like, okay, I don't have the money to go shopping, I don't have this, but I have that soup in the freezer. Let's pull it out, thaw it out, and eat it. You know, you want to start in terms of savings. So I'm not big on fast food, but I'll eat it, especially when I'm traveling. I will stop quite often at fast food restaurants. And I noticed when I go, instead of giving you one or two napkins, they give you a whole stack of them. Most people just toss them out or they throw them in their car for a future use, and down the road they wind up throwing them out anyway because they're taking up room. I will save these. I will bring them home, and I have a little stack of them here, and I got a little container over there with a bunch more in them. I will stack them up, and I will use them. Why go out and keep buying paper towels and napkins? If you're going to spend $8 for that burger and they give you these, take them and reuse them. Reuse the paper bags. So those McDonald's bags, you're going to laugh. I reuse them as garbage bags. What's nice about that is they break down a lot faster in the garbage than a plastic bag does. You don't need a garbage bag that takes 10 years to break down. And if you go into a landfill and dig below the surface, you're going to find a banana that's in there that's been in there for 10 years. This stuff is not breaking down. It does not get rotated and watered, and landfills fill up, you think a city of garbage every day getting thrown on top of it. It's just insulating it there. It's taking forever to break down. So I reuse as much as possible. Not only do I reuse, I'm always thinking, is this something I can compost in my own yard? My coffee grounds I'll take out and throw them right down on the ground, because it'll break down out there. It's good for your dirt. In a landfill, those coffee grounds are sitting below 2 tons, 3 tons, 10 tons of junk. It's not breaking down. It doesn't have the airflow. It doesn't have the water. It doesn't have the rotation to keep it to start the breakdown process. That's why you can find a 10-year-old banana, that is taking forever to break down in a landfill. So you really want to think, about, and some things you can dry it out, throw it in a blender, blend it up, and then throw it out in your yard. It will compost 10 times faster. You can have a compost pile, whatever, and I'm just telling you things to think ahead of time. So everybody likes the little garbage bags. They throw them in their garbage can. They're easy. They pull them out. They tie them shut. They walk them right out to their garbage can. So I tend to reuse what I have. And those little paper bags from McDonald's are perfect. So I fill it up. I take it out. I throw it in the garbage. I reuse gift bags. Gift bags are perfect for my garbage. They got the little handles. I take them out to my garbage can. I drop them right into my garbage. You can use a cardboard box. Cardboards take a lot longer to break down. But you have to start thinking, 8 years from now, how are we going to be living? Are you going to be able to buy garbage bags? What are you going to use? Start getting in the practice of these things now and watch your money build, because you're saving. You're no longer buying stuff that you really didn't need. Did you really need that $8 bottle body wash? You probably didn't. Buy a bar of soap. That's going to last you, 1 bar of soap can last you 3 months. A thing of body wash might last you a week and a half. Depends on how often you shower. Most people shower at least once a day. They go through a lot of body wash. I use a ton of conditioner on my hair. I got really long hair, and it's Irish hair, so it's wiry. So I use a ton of conditioner on my hair. So what do I stock up on? I stock up on conditioner, because conditioner is expensive. My dish soap, I stock up on my dish soap. Start thinking 8 years ahead. you want those savings. You want that financial savings. So if you have a second job, that's perfect. You can take that money and store it back. Store it back as much as you can. If you have a YouTube channel, that's perfect. You do your YouTube channel, maybe in 5 years you could be making $1,000 extra a month. Or $500 extra a month. Depends on how often you upload. And you got that cash coming in once a month. Take that money and put it away. Put it away. Preferably something that's going to earn you interest. Down the road, you may need it all of a sudden. If you have a house payment, pay off that house as fast as possible. Make a plan. Make a plan now. Sit down and say, okay, I can afford right now to put $10 extra on my house payment every month. And then do it. And you're saying, well, $10 isn't that much. It's not going to make a big difference. It will. In your interest, it will. Believe me, you are paying off your premium, your interest. You're paying that stuff down. You're paying it down a lot quicker. You're saving thousands of dollars down the road. It's preferable to make double payments on your house if you can, but most people can't do that. So even if it's $1 or $2, think about paying off that vehicle, paying off that house as quick as possible, and then putting that money back. Once that stuff is paid off, start saving that money so you have it for future issues. If you have an issue down the road where all of a sudden you find yourself, in an accident, you can't work for 6 months. Now all of a sudden you have savings that you can rely on if you have to. I try not to use my savings as much as I can help it. So everybody knows I got my money that I'm saving towards my tiny house. And I'm hiding that money. Have not started building it yet. But that's okay. I'm okay. I'm okay to wait. I'm going to downsize big time. I downsized to move in here. I'll probably have to downsize even more to move in there. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with where I'm at. I got a lot more that I can do, though. So really think ahead. So you're thinking, okay, now if I buy an extra thing of Q-tips, that can go into a container and go up. Now, paper products and stuff like Q-tips break down. And you got to think, if you're saving up paper plates and stuff like that, paper products will draw bugs. Keep that in mind. So you want to rotate it frequently. You want to use what you bought and replace it. So you definitely want to put them in containers. They also draw mice. Don't ask me why paper products draw mice. If you don't have a root cellar and you're stocking up on canned goods, which are in mason jars, and you really don't have a dark, cold place, you may want to think in terms of wrapping each one in some newspaper and putting it in a cardboard box, and then putting a lid on that box. Make sure everything's marked well of what it is. Things like that. So you want to think in terms of future. You want to be able to eat. You want to have some kind of financial money. You want to be able to have medical supplies. You want to be able to make sure, especially if your medicine is really expensive. If it's expensive now, 8 years from now, it's going to be double the price. Keep that in mind. So if it's medication you have to have, you may want to think of buying ahead so you have some down the road. Something happens, you have it. And I know people that's on life-saving medicines that's very expensive. You may want to think to have those extra things of Band-Aids and whatever you may need. Whatever it takes is what you got to do. So consider 8 years of savings in all terms to help your life down the road. So if you really, really have to do this, you may want to think, if you have animals, you may want to think in terms of animal feed too. So if you get dogs, cattle, whatever you got, you have to think in those terms of savings. So those 8 years of savings now are going to save you a lifetime of headaches in the future. You can say, I'm not disciplined enough to do this. But if you start now and start thinking how I can do this, it might be just buying that one extra thing every time you go to the grocery store. Okay, I'm here. They have the soap is on sale. Let's buy an extra thing of dish soap. Let's buy that extra thing of tuna, that extra canned ham, or whatever it is. Make sure you rotate your stock. The old stuff goes in the front, the new stuff in the back. Use the old stuff up first. Make sure you put dates on them. Get yourself some masking tape and some, a permanent marker, and write in big numbers. I bought this on 12/24/21. That way okay, a year from now, okay. So that probably should be used up and replaced with something newer. Start doing it now. You're going to save yourself a lot of frustration in the future. And you think, okay, do you really do this? I do it. Right now I'm living in a little bedroom where it's not as easy to do, but I do have boxes that I have stuff stored in. I have an old dresser here that I have stuff stocked in the drawers. It's a perfect place because it's a cool, dry place. It's just an extra dresser I have. And yes, I have enough vitamins to probably last me about 8 to 9 years easily. And I try to rotate them as often as I can, because when you buy vitamins, they could be anywhere from a month's supply to a 3 or 6 month supply, depending on how you get them. So I do rotate them frequently because vitamins break down. But I could try to keep ahead of the game with them because I know they break down and I know they're expensive. And in the future, they're going to be twice as much. I definitely have lots of those. Tea bags, I got a ton of those. I stock up on my coffee. My dish soap, I probably have, I don't know, about 20 bottles of dish soap, and they're in boxes right now out at the secret house. I have laundry detergent. So, now the washing machine I have right now, I can't use that laundry soap in because we have a high energy washing machine. I gotta have special detergent for it. But back when I lived in Florida, I didn't have that, and I could use this other dish soap, or this other laundry soap. So I would buy, it's a Spanish brand of laundry soap they come in big bags. So the bags, they tear real easy. They're just big plastic bags. It's a blue powdered soap. So I resave my ice cream buckets. I resave my coffee containers, and that's what I put in. I open the bags and I pour it all in, and then I mark them. It says laundry soap on it. The perfect, especially if you have a large load of blankets and you got to do it at the laundromat. That's where I take that laundry soap for. But it cost me like $3 for this huge bag of laundry soap. One bag filled 4 huge ice cream buckets. I have this that I know that in the future that I have it to use. Powdered soap lasts a long time. You only need a little tiny bit. You don't need a whole lot. You don't need a cup and a half. You need like a little coffee scoop. That's all you need. Start thinking in terms, okay, am I using too much laundry soap? Probably. Let's start using a little less laundry soap. You know, how much dish soap do you really use to wash those dishes? You only need a couple drops. You do not need a half a bottle of dish soap. Start really thinking in terms of savings and how you can start saving for the future. It will save you so much headaches. You you cannot believe when things go south, you're going to be the one that's taken care of because you pre-thought ahead. So start changing your life. Start making dramatic changes. Start with learning how to pay off your bills faster and then using that money to put into your savings and using the extra, whatever little bit of extra you got left over to buy whatever extra you need that you can stock up for the future. You know, you have an old dresser that you're not using, make that your extra little storage bin area. Put some extra canned goods in there. You know, buy an extra tube of toothpaste and throw it in there. You know how much a tube of toothpaste is now? 8 years from now, it's probably going to be doubled or tripled that price. Keep that in mind. So not only are you saving a ton of money, but you're going to have that product. When things go south, you're going to have it. You won't have to think, oh my God, all of a sudden I'm out of toothpaste. I cannot go without brushing my teeth. You already have it. You know, it's not just saving batteries and a couple of canned goods. You want to think in everything. You want to think, are your dogs going to be taken care of? You know, are your cats going to be taken care of? Are you going to have stuff to be able to feed them when something happens? Or are you going to have to find a way to get rid of your fur babies when things go south? You seriously want to think about that. Nobody wants to have to get rid of their pets because they can no longer afford to even feed themselves, let alone animals. So start thinking about them. Start putting extra canned goods back. You know, start thinking of the things that you can use that last longer. I always have raisins. Always have raisins. I keep them. I got these ones next to my bed because they're my snack. I like to snack on them. Um, they last forever. They last for a long time. So stuff like that, I like to keep around. Peanut butter, I also keep a ton of peanut butter. Peanut butter is a great form of protein. You'd be surprised when you need these things. You know, when things go south, at least I know I got peanut butter and raisins. I know I got those extra spaghetti noodles I have in that tin can. If you start saving stuff like noodles, uh, rice, powdered milk, you may want to think in terms of putting in a mason jar with a good lid and make sure you put an oxygen absorber in there. They will last a lot longer than normal. So your rice can now last 20, 30 years instead of lasting 2 or 3. And the mice can't chew through the glass jar. So much better than plastic. Start thinking about having a Brita filter. You can filter water. Now, people tend to buy water and stock up on water. Well, plastic jugs break down and that plastic leaches into your water. So now you're getting plastic particles into your body system. You may want to think of, you know, in the future, you might be on a catch rain system where you're drinking rainwater, you know, or you still have tap water, but you can't afford to buy bottled water. You may want to think about using a Brita filter so you can filter your water and then put it in a mason jar and then refrigerate it somehow or whatever so your water don't go bad. You're going to have to keep it rotated well if you don't refrigerate your water. You want to rotate it well because water goes rancid. Oils go rancid. Keep things in mind. You want to keep, vinegar. You definitely want to have vinegar on hand. Vinegar has 100 uses. Baking soda has 100 uses. Start learning now what you can use these products for. Baking soda you can always brush your teeth with. Vinegar is good if you don't have blood thinners. Vinegar is a blood thinner. You may want to consider that as an alternative down the road if something happens. I'm not giving medical advice. Believe me, that is not medical advice. These are just things to think of in the future if something would go south. You may want to talk to your doctor and say, hey, if something happens and I can no longer afford my medication, what can I do if something happens? Talk to your doctor, see what they say. The doctors know more than me. I don't know crap. I'm just telling you what I think. So don't take my advice on it, but still think about your future. Think about what's going to happen down the road. Now, I didn't really want to do a 41-minute video, but here I am still yapping at the gums. But I wanted to teach you something. 8 years of savings. Do you really need to have that brand new vehicle right off the line? You may want to rethink that, because the money you're paying out for that new vehicle could be money that you're saving for your 8 years when things go south. You're going to need the 7 to 8 years of savings just to make it through it. You're going to need 7 to 8 years worth of food. You're going to need to figure out, okay, should I be considering buying solar panels or, some kind of windmill that I can save the backup energy in a battery pack somehow. You may want to start learning about that stuff now and deciding why not put that money towards something like that. That way you have enough electric to run your refrigerator if something goes down, if something happens. You may want to think about what your water supply is going to be like in 8 years. Things are not going to be the same. We're going to be paying out double and triple of what we're paying now. And then if the mark of the beast comes, really consider it. You might not be able to buy and sell anything. So you may be living in a place where all you got is what little bit that you put back. That's all you have. Your kids might be sitting there eating 8-year-old peanut butter. At least they have something. They're not out there picking up piles of dirt and shoving it in their mouths because they're starving to death. Nobody wants to see a child go through that. Nobody. Just consider it. Just think, okay, well, how can I have 8 years worth of financial savings? How can I have 8 years worth of medical savings? How can I have 8 years worth of food savings? Start making a plan now. Start thinking about how can I make a little bit of extra money every month. Whether it's through affiliate marketing or through YouTube or TikTok or whatever, however you're making your extra. You may want to start a channel now today. That way, 3 years from now, you might have a couple extra dollars coming in every month. It might not be much. It might be $10. It's $10 extra a month that you didn't have before. So you may want to start something now to change your life. You may want to do something that's going to help you through those really dramatic times. And this C word that we just has been going through should have been your thing to get you thinking like, okay, I better be prepared for next time. I better be prepared before the next pandemic. I better be prepared before the next war. I better be prepared. Something. I gotta prepare something now. Start planning now. See where it's gonna go. I'm not trying to scare anybody. This is not a scare tactic video. I'm not trying to do anything that's gonna hurt somebody in the future. I just want you to think ahead of time. You know, think about your future and where it's going to be and how much this stuff is going to cost. So you're buying that stuff now. You're buying stuff. Do you really need that $900 phone? Those $700 sneakers? You know, think before you go out on that shopping spree. Hey, you know, maybe we should think about putting back some groceries and start a little pantry. Buy the extra spices and the extra whatever I may need in the future. Spices last a long time. And they can still go bad, so be careful what you buy. Start buying things in glass jars and start trying to get away from using plastics. Start rethinking on how you take your garbage out. You know, do I really need to buy these expensive, smelly, apple-scented garbage bags? Do I really need that? Or can I get away with using these paper bags that are going to break down 10 times faster? You know, think about these things. It really consider saving any way you can. What little bit of savings you have now is going to save you a lot of heartache in the future. And once you start living that way and teaching yourself to live that way, when things go south, you're already living and already understand, okay, well, I can't eat this because that's way too expensive. But if I split it up this way, I can make, 5 meals out of this one meal. You learn, you teach yourself, you know. Look up some of those old Mennonite recipes. Oh my God, you'd be surprised. You will be surprised. They can turn one meal into 10 meals. It truly amazes you with the stuff they can do. Okay, I love you, YouTube. I'm not going to keep you on here. I just wanted to really get it through your head what 8 years of savings can do for your life. I'm big on saving my money. I don't spend it if I don't have to. No, I do. I went out and got my hair done, and I do buy things when I need it. I did splurge on my Carhartt because I know it's going to last me. It's going to last me 20, 30 years. I do splurge on things like that. I don't do it very often, though. That's like a once every 2 or 3 years splurge. I rarely ever spend money on myself. I do stock up on things. That's where my money goes. I like to stock up on things because I know in the future I'm going to have it. When nobody else can get it, I already have it. And I don't have to worry so much. Really think. Really think. I love you, YouTube. Take care.